You know, there's talk in recent years about, we talk in Canada about TSN turning points, the big things that change sports events from normal to classic. And in entertainment history, one of the big turning points of the 1980s was this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, Conspiracy is the 25th and second to last episode of the first season of the syndicated American science fiction TV series. Now, Star Trek The Next Generation, the unofficial sequel to Star Trek The Original Series. Now, this episode originally aired on May 9th, 1988 in the United States, a little bit earlier in Canada. Now, the premise was conceived by the show's creator Gene Roddenberry in a single-sentence overview titled The Assassins, being expanded to a 30-page story by Robert Sabaroff. From this, the teleplay was produced by Tracy Torme, and the episode directed by Cliff Bole. Now, let's put this in perspective. Much hype for Star Trek The Next Generation when it came about in the 87-88 season. Now, in certain markets in North America, especially Canada, Star Trek was being shown before major sporting events or the major primetime hours during the week or on the weekend. Now, in Canada and the Atlantic provinces, it was shown at 7 o'clock before, of all things, Hockey Night in Canada, which was the highest rated show in the nation at the time. Now, Conspiracy is a very, very simple, very complex plot. It's a sequel to the somewhat classic episode Coming of Age, where one of Picard's close friends comes on the Enterprise, and they're trying to find if there's a conspiracy. One of the special, investigators is questioning different members of the staff to find out if there's what he call a flaw in Starfleet. Now, here's what we find out. Following a meeting with a fellow captain, the strange behavior of high-ranking officers leads Picard, Patrick Stewart, and the crew of the Enterprise to uncover a conspiracy of senior Starfleet officers possessed by, get this, parasitic aliens who are preparing to invade the United Federation of Planets. Now, the aliens look like the same bugs that show up in Wrath of Khan that the Montalban character had used to get information from Chekhov in his close shipmate. Now, it's a horror thriller. It's a film noir. There's various makeup effects that make it a tremendous episode from a thriller standpoint. Now, numerous makeup effects were created by makeup supervisor Michael Westmore, including an exploding head using raw meat. We'll get into that in a second why. Now, there was concerns by producers some of the effects were too graphic, but after viewing by staff member's son, they decided to broadcast it uncut. The episode won an Emmy, but it was very controversial when first broadcast. It was initially banned in the United Kingdom and required a warning before airing in Canada. Now, at the time, Star Trek Generation was appropriate for young kids, but this was PG-13. And the episode, I know in Canada, was the talk of the town, because how many times do you see Star Trek use such graphic material? It was almost like the first episode of the new series that looked at the adults in the audience as their main audience and not the kids. Now, the basic plot is this. Now, the Enterprise is en route to Pacifica on a scientific mission. Captain Picard, again, receives a confidential message from an old friend, Captain Walker Keel of USS Horatio. When they finally meet up, Keel and two other close captains are reporting strange orders from Starfleet headquarters, and he implies there are suspicious deaths of Starfleet officers and expresses concern of a conspiracy. Now, Picard refuses acceptance without proof, but Keel warns him to remain wary. Soon after, he gets Data. He said, Data, can you go through the files and see if what he's saying is going on? And, of course, Walker and his ship are eventually found dead. The ship is blown up, and they decide to go back to Earth after the Enterprise receives no response from Starfleet Command. Now, eventually, three people, including Savar, Aaron, and Quinn, the guy that talked about a conspiracy in the Coming of Age episode, are questioning why the Enterprise is coming back, but invite Captain Picard and Commander Riker to dinner. Now Quinn decides to go back on the ship, but with him he kind of gives it away, well, to the audience, not himself. He's carrying one of these bugs. Now it looks kind of like a silverfish, but a more like a kind of a, I don't know, more fatter, juicier, like an earworm sort of thing. Now when Quinn gets on the ship, he invites Riker to his room, and he shows him the bug, and he said, we're going to put one of these in your head and you can join us, and they have a battle. And the action in the scene is extremely tremendous. Watching the older Quinn, I think he's like 80, kicking the shit out of Riker. Riker's knocked out, then of course Worf shows up, and the battle becomes, and they find out eventually that he's been taken over by the bug. Now, when Picard goes back down to the planet, he's asked to a big dinner with his three superiors, including the investigator that was part of Quinn's last trip to the ship, and he's being served a bowl of living larvae. So that alone is an indication this is not your normal sit-down dinner. Now, when he attempts to leave, he finds Riker blocking his way. Now, the commander appears to be controlled by the parasite Quinn had brought to the Enterprise. When the others see a prosthetic protrusion at the back of Riker's neck, he is accepted as one of them and allowed to dine. They reveal that the parasites are seeking to take over Starfleet, using the humanoids as hosts. When he's about to put a handful of larvae in his mouth, Riker suddenly produces a phaser and fires on one of the admirals. Now Picard joins in the battle, and the two Enterprise officers subdue the infected, causing parasites. The infected causing the parasites to leave the host and flee. Now, one of the parasites scurries under a closed door, and Picard and Riker follow it. They find Remick, Quinn's assistant, ingesting the parasite to join several others inside him. Now, Picard and Riker fire upon Remick, destroying his body but freeing a giant parasite. The two continue to fire until it is destroyed. Has to be seen and believed. One of the most chilling, syndicated, non-adult episodes of the modern era. But there's several key lines in there which refer to all things, the Holocaust and Russian, domination of the world. We seek peaceful coexistence, or, the Hitler-Russian line. It's quite interesting. The writing on the episode is quite tight, the special effects are tight, but this is weird. It gives Crusher a lot to do in the episode. It gives Data finally a focus in. But this episode is quite easy. Like the Deadwood of Tasha Yar, or the plots around Troy and different stuff are thrown out, and this is the first adult episode of Star Trek, in my opinion. Now, the episode was well received. Now, because the ratings for Star Trek were quite high. Actually, the ratings for these episodes went down from the previous week. It had 9.4 million viewers. Now, I know in Canada it was getting 1 to 1.7 million viewers a week. Atlantic promises easily 200,000 or 300,000 people at least. Now, again, if you watch this episode in Canada, there was a warning before conspiracy, and by the BBC, it was later rated in an edited form, probably because of the exploding head and the open body with all the dead bugs around. Now, at the end of the episode, we found out that the Data has found out there's been a signal from Remick to the home planet or whatever. The bugs have never shown back up in a Star Trek episode, but with Picard, you never know in the future. Now, there's been many publications say this is a top 25 episode of Star Trek. I give it top 10 for sure, not because it's the most proficient episode or the most well done, but literally it's a must-watch episode. Now, the explosion of Remick's head alone is worth it, because he was such an asshole in the previous episode. So we're just trying to figure out he was an asshole because of the bugs, or to hiding it. But it's very underrated episode. I've seen many publications that really don't like it, and I'm saying, like, what else do you want? There's an indication in this episode. You have the horror tropes, you have the basic Star Trek tropes. You got Riker playing like almost like a Kirk character. You got the aspects of the trope of Data. You got the aspects of a mystery. But the only problem with the episode, Quinn gives away the story of the bugs too early when he opens his attache case and you see this big juicy bug in there. If that was held back, and it should have been a 2-hour episode, it should have been a two-parter, just like they did with the Borg. But they were kind of playing up that this was going to be the big enemy for Star Trek. But the problem is with like evil horror bugs, you can only go so far. But again, the early episodes of Star Trek, Patrick Stewart hadn't found the Picard character correctly. Here was starting to build in. Brent Spiner, who of course got his big start on Night Court, Twilight Zone, finally found his way. Worf as another great, Michael Dorn, another great performance. So everything is gelling. You know, it takes 20, 25 episodes for a cast to work together. And Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden are a little bit better in this episode. A lot of good one-liners. I think Surtees has given her best line of the series up until then, and you know, LeVar Burton should have been brought more in the episode, but you can't have everybody. But seeing Jonathan Frakes get the shit kicked out of him by even if it's a what do you call it, stuntman, the Quinn character, like I said, he might be 80 or 90. It's quite amazing because the look that Riker gives Quinn character after he gets kicked is priceless. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want a good Sunday night scare with the lights off, if you've never seen the episode, this is the one. And like I said, it is probably, again, the most important episode of the first season, behind the episode where the Klingons steal a ship and challenge Worf on his lineage. That's quite strong as well. So, and you know, I'm hit or miss with Q. I've always been like that. I like the actor better on Days of Our Lives and as Q and on Twilight Zone, but that's just me. Anyway, if you like what we're doing here with our TV and movie podcast, let us know. Give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you like Star Trek, please tell your fans to ask for a sequel. If you know some of the showrunners or contacts or showrunners, a sequel to Conspiracy. It's money left on the table, put it this way. Thanks for listening. Bye.